In this video, we will be talking about the hip joint, otherwise known as the coxal joint. This is a ball and socket joint that is formed by the head of the femur and the acetabulum of the hip bone. The articular capsule, which is labeled right here, this actually forms this dense, really strong capsule, and it extends from the rim of the acetabulum, it's kind of about right here, to the neck of the femur. And the articular capsule is made up of this dense fibrous connective tissue. With its accessory ligaments, the coxal joint is actually one of the strongest structures in the entire body. The cool part about the articular capsule is that it consists of both longitudinal and circular fibers. So longitudinal fibers are going to be the fibers that are going to be going longitudinally from the acetabulum to the neck of the femur, and the circular fibers are going to be encircling the neck of the femur, like so. One of these circular fibers of the articular capsule, and the main one that we're going to look at, is called the zona orbicularis, and you can actually see it right here. It's a cross section because it does go circularly around the neck of the femur, and it kind of forms this collar around the neck of the femur, holding it in place. Now, the longitudinal fibers that help to make up the articular capsule require some reinforcement by these accessory ligaments. So these accessory ligaments that we're going to look at, first is the iliofemoral ligament, the pubofemoral, and the ischiofemoral. These are going to be the ligaments that reinforce the longitudinal fibers of the articular capsule. So first off here, we have the iliofemoral ligament labeled right there. This is a thickened portion of the articular capsule, and it does go from the anterior and inferior iliac spine, so it's going to be like right there on the hip bone, to the intertrochanteric line of the femur. So this ligament is actually said to be the strongest of the body. So the strongest ligament in the entire body. And this ligament actually prevents hyperextension of the femur during standing. So it's quite an important ligament there. Next, we have the pubofemoral ligament right there. And this, again, is a thickened portion of the articular capsule, and it extends from the pubic part of the hip bone here to the neck of the femur. So it's kind of like attaching at the femur right there. So this ligament, this one is going to prevent over-abduction. It also strengthens the articular capsule as well. Okay, and then we have the ischiofemoral ligament right here. And this one extends from the ischial wall of the acetabulum, and it goes to the neck of the femur here. It does have a small attachment point also at the greater trochanter, but mostly the neck of the femur. So this ligament is kind of cool because it goes slack during adduction and then it goes tense during abduction. This ligament really works to strengthen the articular capsule as well. Okay, a couple of other important parts of the coxal joint. We're going to talk about the ligament of the head of the femur. So this ligament is kind of cool. It's a really flat triangular band, and it goes from the fossa of the acetabulum, so right here is where it attaches, and it goes to the fovea capitis of the femur, which is actually labeled right here. So this is kind of cool because it attaches directly to kind of the end of the head, and it usually contains this really small artery that supplies blood to the femur here, to the head of the femur. Next, very, very important part of the coxal bone is going to be the acetabular labrum. This is a really cool fibrocartilage ring that attaches to the margin of the acetabulum here. I'm going to erase this. So it attaches kind of to the margins around here, around the acetabulum, and it really increases the depth of the acetabulum. So because we have this cartilage, this acetabular labrum, which is made of fibrocartilage, you don't really see dislocation of the femur very much. So hip dislocation is actually really rare because we have this labrum that deepens the socket that the femur fits into. Lastly, we're going to talk about the transverse ligament, just labeled right here. This is quite a strong ligament that supports the acetabular labrum. You can see it right here. And it really is connected with the ligament of the head of the femur, which is right here, remember. So this ligament is attached to the ligament of the head of the femur and also to the articular capsule. And it really just supports that labrum and really helps to decrease dislocation of the hip and to increase the strength of this entire joint as a whole. And that's going to be at the end of Chapter 9, Part 7.